Welcome to the video. In this video, we're going to cover 5 more problems in the Math ACT practice test for 2022-2023. The problems we're going to cover are 16 through 20. So buckle up and let's get started. All right, number 16, what value of x satisfies this equation? -3 times the quantity of 4x minus 5 equals 2 times the quantity of 1 minus 5x. This is just a simple linear equation. So distribute the -3 into both of these. Make sure you multiply -3 by both of those terms. So -3 times 4x is -12x. -3 times -5 is plus 15. On the right side, you want to distribute the +2. So 2 times 1, and then 2 times -5. So 2 times 1, of course, is 2. 2 times -5 is -10x. Oh, my exes live in Texas. You want to get your exes all in Texas, okay? So you want to move the -12x over. And so the only way to do that, only way to get -12x over there with the other x's is by adding it. So we want to add 12x to both sides. Once we do that, on the left side, -12x plus 12x is 0. That's why we added 12x. 15 is left over here. And then we have 2. And now -10x plus 12x is 2x. All right, we have all our x's on the same side. All of our x's live in Texas. I'm getting out of Texas. So what I mean by that is we're going to isolate the x's. Isolate it. So I have that 2, this 2 on the same side as the term with my x's. So I want to subtract that from both sides. When you subtract 2 from both sides, like this, you'll have 13 equals 2x. And then finally, to get x isolated, you would like to divide by 2. Let me scroll a little bit. So divide by 2. That's going to get x by itself over on the right side. And then 13 over 2 does not reduce. And so the answer is 13 over 2. All right, number 17 says, in the right triangle, triangle ABC shown below, the given lengths are in millimeters. What is sine A? Okay, to do this problem, there's really not a whole lot of calculations. They give you all 3 sides of this right triangle. So basically, they just want to make sure you know how to find sine of an angle in a right triangle. Have you ever heard of sohcahtoa? Tell me in the comments if you have ever heard of sohcahtoa. Some old hippie caught another hippie tripping on acid. The S represents sine, the O represents opposite, H represents hypotenuse. Then over here in ca and toa, they involve an A. The A represents adjacent. So because we're looking for sine of angle A sits right here. And so we need to label this right triangle according to angle A. So to this right triangle, first off, the hypotenuse is always across from the right angle. So here's your hypotenuse. To angle A, what side is opposite? Well, if you go across, opposite is here. And so sine of A is the opposite side over the hypotenuse. So 7 over 9. All right, number 18 says we're going to take 27 over 64 and raise it to the -2/3 power. So there's a lot of properties in play here that you do need to know. What I want to do first, and there's different routes that you can take to do this problem. What I want to do first is remind you that if you have a fraction, a over b raised to some power, we know what we can do there. If we have a fraction raised to a power, we can take the numerator of that fraction, raise it to that power, and then take the denominator, raise it to that power. Okay, so you can break up the fraction into a numerator raised to the power, denominator raised to the power. That's how I want to approach this problem. So using that property, we'll take 27, raise it to the -2/3 power, and then take 64 and raise it to the -2/3 power. All right, And I want to do it that way because I want to remind you of the negative exponent rule. And so the negative exponent rule looks like this. If I have some base, call it b, to the negative n power, then if b is in my numerator, such as this, I can take that base along with that negative power and move it. So in other words, b to the negative n gets moved down into my denominator. And when I do that, there's a 1 left up in the numerator. This 1 gets multiplied to that b, but what's important is the exponent changes to a positive. That's called your negative exponent rule. So basically, what this becomes is this 27 to the negative 2/3 power gets moved down to my denominator. This 64 to the negative 2/3 power gets moved up to my numerator. They both have negative exponents, so they both get moved. But once you move them, the exponent becomes positive. So at the top, we have 64 to the 2/3 power. At the bottom, we have 27 to the 2/3 power. Now I can take that 64 raised to the 2/3 power. The denominator of my exponent is the index to my root. What I mean by that is 3 in my denominator, that's a cube root. And so I'm going to rewrite this as the cube root of 64 squared over what? Exactly. The cube root of 27 squared. We know what it means to take a cube root. So think about what number you can raise to the 3rd power and get 64. And that would be 4. So this equals 4, but I still have that to the 2nd power. This cube root of 27, what can you raise to the 3rd power and get 27? Well, that's 3. But there's still that square there, so 3 squared. And now finally, 4 squared is 16. 3 squared is 9, 16 over 9. I wanted to approach this problem this way because on your actual test, we don't know what they're going to ask in terms of properties of exponents. And so this one problem and the way I presented it here reviewed a few different properties. If you need a video discussing properties of exponents along with some examples, please let me know in the comments, and I will gladly make a dedicated video on properties of exponents. All right, number 19. Number 19 says Lotto, excuse me, Lotto begins at his back door and walks 8 yards east, 6 yards north, 12 yards east, and 5 yards north to the barn door. I don't know why he decided to walk that way, but about how many yards less would he walk if he just decided to walk like a normal person straight to the door? Maybe he was avoiding some water puddles or something, didn't want to get his new Nikes dirty. Who knows? When I was a kid, I used to avoid getting my new shoes dirty. I would literally put Food Line bags on my shoes, tied around my ankles so that I don't get my shoes dirty. So I understand Lotto. I get what he's doing here. So if this is where he's starting, 8 yards east, that's this way. We'll just put that as 8. 6 yards north, that's 6. Let's see here, 12 yards east. So he's going 12 yards east. And then finally 5 yards north to get to the barn door. So in total, he has traveled 8 plus 6 plus 12 plus 5 yards. So he's walked 31 yards. That's how much he actually walked. Now, if he didn't care about getting his shoes dirty, or if he could make a beeline straight to the barn door, how many yards less would he have walked? So if he were to travel straight to the barn door, that might look something like this. What I would do to be careful is I would just consider how much he's traveled in total east. So let's draw this, which represents his total distance traveled east. He first traveled east 8 yards and then again 12 yards. And so this would be 20. And then how much in total did he travel north? Well, that would be here, which was 6 and 5. So we'll call that 11. So there is our new triangle. That is a right angle. So let's erase these red numbers so we don't get confused. Now we have two sides to a right triangle. Hopefully you know the Pythagorean theorem, which is a squared plus b squared equals c squared. C is the hypotenuse. So this side right here, if I label this C, will be equal to the square root of 20 squared plus 11 squared. That would be the total if he had just traveled, if he had just walked straight to the barn door. That would be the total he traveled. So let's see what that is. All right, that side is approximately, now it is approximated, 22.8. That's how much he would have traveled. Now notice C is answer 23. Look at what the question said. The question says about how many yards less would he have walked if he had just gone directly. He did walk 31 yards. He could have only walked about 22 to 23 yards. So the best answer here would be 8. All right, number 20 says that for a given set of data, the standard score, Z, corresponding to the raw score, X, is given by the formula. All right, let's circle the formula. There we go. Z is equal to X minus mu divided by sigma, where mu is the mean of the set and sigma is the standard deviation. A lot of terms in there, a lot of statistical terms, but in terms of this problem, basically, we're going to turn this into a linear equation. All right. If for a set of scores mu is 78, sigma is 6, which of the following is the raw score X corresponding to Z equals 2? So there's 4 variables in this formula. They give us 3 and ask for the 4th. So let's plug everything in very carefully. Now we just want to solve for X. X here, the quantity of X minus 78 is being divided by 6. So we need to take care of that first. We need to multiply both sides by 6. And when we do that, we'll have 12 is equal to X minus 78. And just like before, we need X's isolated. So we're going to add 78 to both sides. And so X equals 12 plus 78, which is 90, letter F. So I hope this video helped. If it did help, please like the video, subscribe to the channel. I will be releasing problems 21 through 25 in just a few days. If you have any questions or need anything expanded, any of these topics, we are now getting further along in these problems, and so more algebra, more trig, more geometry things are expected to be known. So if you need me to expand on any of that, please let me know in the comments. Hopefully I'll see you in the next one. Have a good one.